The king and the queen are so sad together. Why don't they just divorce each other? Why doesn't the queen just divorce him and go away? Oh God, is this a king? I think he should just download Tinder and get off the throne. Hello and welcome to Musings of a Masterly. I'm Meenal Desai and here I share a medley of my unique experiences shaped by students, teachers and life in general. And today what I'm going to share is something totally new and something that is entirely personal. So during the last 10 weeks of lockdown, we were all cooped up home. Most of us took to some or the other hobby. One of the things we did with our kids was to watch Mahabharata. So when I say kids, I'm talking about my children and my nieces and all of them of different age groups, right? From 8-9 years old to 17-18 year olds. We spoke to them about Mahabharata and saying that, hey, this is one show we watched as kids and we would love to have you guys watch. So you also understand a little more about India, about our mythology and all that. And they said, okay, let's give it a try and all that. And that is how our story of Mahabharata, watching Mahabharata, the B.R. Chopra version of Mahabharata, started in March. It was amazing to see how kids reacted to it and what all they did. So besides the fascination they had with the antique animation and the bows and the arrows and the bloopers and the Hindi that they could not understand, and they watched most of the Mahabharata with subtitles and all. So they know the Mahabharata with English as the language. But all that said and done, just 2 days ago they finished watching all the 92 episodes. And it was a pleasure to sit with them and watch all that. However, today what I want to share with you guys is how those kids, the 21st century kids, the 10-year-old, the 12-year-old, how do they look at Mahabharata? How do they see it? Mahabharata is one story that lends itself to all age groups, and for centuries together, people have been drawing lessons out of it. Each century has its own tale to take from it. So what do these kids today look at in Mahabharata? So I will just share a few instances. In the initial episodes, when Shantanu, the king of Hastinapur, the mighty king, he falls in love with Satyavati and he's enamored by her and all that, and he tends to give up his duties as a king, as a father, and he's simply smitten by this lady and is totally into romance and all that. One of my child who was really in love with Devvrat, Bhishma and all that, when he saw that Devvrat had to give up his entire throne and all that, suddenly that child burst out and said that, hey, this is not befitting of a king. Raja aisa thodi hota hai, a king is not supposed to do that. And guess what the child said after that? He says, koi Shantanu ne ko Tinder download kare. So I was like, just to translate it, the child, the 10-year-old said that Shantanu, if he is so smitten by the ladies, he should go and download Tinder and give up on the throne of Hastinapur because he just doesn't deserve that. And we all laughed out hard and all that, because for us the combination of Tinder to Mahabharata was impossible to make. But for that child who is growing up in this day and age, it was so natural that if you're seeking a partner, then you shouldn't be on a throne. You shouldn't be taking up responsibilities that you cannot do justice to. You might as well just go and find a partner that suits you and all. Well, it was a very natural take on what the situation was. It gave me an insight into how kids look at the world today. In another episode, when Krishna and Sudama, so they've studied together in Sandipani's ashram and all that, and they are about to part their ways and all that. What happens is they are about to leave, and then they both get overwhelmed and emotional, and they call out to each other. He says Krishna, Sudama says Sudama, Krishna, Sudama, and the scene is melodramatic and all that. And then they hug each other and they kind of part their ways and all that. Again, one of the children, they ended up saying that, oh, I thought they were going to kiss each other. So now that is something we would have never imagined as kids. But for these kids, every time some melodrama comes in or some emotional idea comes in, a kiss has to be followed. It was very unusual for me to even imagine Krishna kissing Sudama and all that. But for that child, it was very natural. Although the relationship was that of a man and a man, that could still be imagined. Again, another century, another draw, another lesson learned for us and for the child. Another relationship that was commented on was that of Gandhari and Dhritarashtra. Again, as I say, we watched the B.R. Chopra version of Mahabharat, and in this version, their relationship was shown to be one that of lamenting, where both of them were partners in sorrow. And every time Gandhari took the path of righteousness, she was somehow stopped by Dhritarashtra, and she could not be heard. She could not get herself through to the king of Hastinapur and all that. And her helplessness was palpable, even to the 12-year-old, 14-year-old in my house. And guess what one of them bursted out saying? She said, "Why doesn't Gandhari just divorce Dhritarashtra? This chap is not listening to her at all, doesn't understand it. Why is this woman with him?" Again, another way of how they look at the world. They believe that a relationship that brings only sorrow, a relationship that does not lend itself to respect, should not be continued. Whether right or wrong is for each one of us to make out. In the times of Gandhari, maybe that was not a choice that Gandhari had. But the children of today, the Janta of today, the young ones of today, for them this is a very natural choice. They would not want to carry the carcass of a relationship just for the sake of it. Whether we agree to it or not as adults is entirely up to us. I share these insights only to tell you how children of today think. Another very interesting take that one of the children shared was, so towards the end of Mahabharat, Duryodhan is lying in the battlefield with his thighs broken. He has nobody to look after and all that, and he's sheer helpless. He still believes that he was right and all that, but he's all alone by himself. And one of the child says, "You know what? Duryodhan was defeated only because of his own self." What a deep insight. Duryodhan had a mighty, mighty army. He had everybody by his side. He was the son of a king, and still he was left alone just out of his own personal deeds, just because he could not understand how to go about handling people. He could not win hearts. He could not see beyond his own ambitions and beyond his own self. Isn't that what happens to a lot of people? Haven't you seen people where they are defeated, self-defeating people, where they lose out on things only and only because of their own swabhav, as it is called, because of their own ideas? And one of the most important comments that will remain with me for a lifetime was when Draupadi was kept on sharing her case, sharing her open hair and saying that, "You know what, I want revenge taken for my disrespect and all." And every time she landed in trouble, she had to bank upon the men in her family to give her honor back. One of the children ended up saying that, "But why was Draupadi so helpless? Why was Draupadi never taught the warfare? Why was she never trained in self-defense?" And I was literally taken aback. Never had I ever looked at it that way. For us, the women or the Kuruvansh ki Stree has to be somebody who is strong in character, but we could never see her waging a war or fighting. I'm sure Indian mythology would have a few characters who are fierce and ferocious in battle, but no female character in Mahabharat had that. And my girls and my children literally missed that. These girls who have grown up on Black Widow and Kill Bill and Wonder Woman, they wonder why do the women in our history end up being so helpless and being troubled by the Kichaks and the Jayadraths and the Dushasans of the world. Why couldn't she take a stand for herself? Why did she have to wait for somebody else? Why wasn't she trained in warfare, in archery? Why wasn't she trained to take care of herself? Questions we've never asked ourselves. When we watched Mahabharat, we watched it in this room full of people where there was pin drop silence. We were only supposed to see what is being shown and understand it in whatever context it was given. We were never able to question it. Children today question it. Children today draw connections to it. Children today ask, what does it mean in our life today? And isn't that the beauty of Mahabharat? It lends itself to every generation, and every generation will find its own meanings. I have watched it multiple times, and every time it has made a different meaning to me. And so, I ask you today, what have you done in this lockdown that has helped you understand the younger generation better? Have you watched a show? Have you done something with them that has given you an insight into how they see the world? If there's something of interest that you would want to share with us, please, please, please tell me. I would love to hear that. And that is me, the Master Knee, signing off from here and thanking you for listening to me. And I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and YouTube. Thank you so much.